These notes are on the vocabulary for circles. We'll be adding to this vocabulary as the module goes, we work through the module. However, this is the sort of beginning bulk of them. So just a bunch of definitions. First is a circle is the set of all points in a plane equidistant. So equidistant, meaning equal, so equal distance from a fixed point called the center of the circle. So if we label C here as the center of the circle, the equidistant part is the distance from the center to the points on the circle, and we label that distance R, meaning radius, and we'll talk about that definition further along in the notes. Our second definition, concentric circles. Concentric circles are a set of different circles that share the same center. So I often talk about concentric circles as being like a bullseye type shape. Dartboard. They all have the same center. However, the radius that they have is a different length for each and every one. It's simply that they start in the same place as far as the center. Our next definition is for chord. Chord is a line segment whose endpoints lie on a circle. So line segment meaning it ends. I have a beginning and an end. So AB is a chord. So is NG. The endpoints are on the circle, and we name those with a line above the two letters with no arrows because it's a line segment, not a line. Secant is sort of in relation to chord. It is a line instead of a line segment that intersects the circle at exactly 2 points. So there's one secant, here's a second secant, here's a third secant. Each and every time these are the 2 points that they're intersecting. However, in this case, when we name them, we use the symbol for meaning line, not line segment. So it's a line with arrows at the end of them. So line NG, line AB, and line CD. Also connected to these other two definitions of chord and secant is this idea of tangent. So tangent is a line, just like secant, except that it only intersects the circle in 1 point. So if you can imagine, it's always a little tricky to draw this because we're human beings, and so it's not going to be exactly picture perfect, but it hits the circle at exactly 1 point instead of 2 or 3. And so again, when we name it, it's a line, so we use the line with the arrows at the end of it. Our next definition is for diameter. Diameter is a chord, but it passes through the center. So chord meaning line segment, so a line with no arrows at the end of it, and passes through the center, which is right here. Now the word diameter can mean 2 different things. It can be describing this line NB is the diameter. It can also be a description of the length of this chord. So we could also say that this diameter is 10 centimeters, and so we could also say diameter is 10 centimeters. Either of those definitions apply. Similarly, for radius, the radius has 2 definitions also. Radius is any line that goes from the center to an endpoint on the circle. So we have a radius of CB. It's a line segment. We also can say that it's a length. So we can also say that it's the length of that line segment. Now, for both diameter and radius, it's important to recognize that there are infinitely many of these. We can draw radii from the center of the circle to on the circle forever and ever and ever, and we'll never have all of them drawn. So one diameter, one radii is sufficient for showing what we mean, and where we place it will depend upon the situations that we're trying to solve. The next definition is arc. Arc is a portion of a circle. So the way I demonstrate this is actually to use a highlighter. Here is one arc in the circle. Actually, let's use a darker highlighter. Here is one arc. Here is a second arc. And when we name these, we use a particular symbol. We put our letters, and then we do this like curvy line on top of it. It also looks like an arc. So we would say that this is arc AB, and over here, this is arc NI. Last three definitions. The first of the last three is a central angle. A central angle is an angle where the vertex of the angle is at the center. So this one kind of has a nice ring in terms of the connection of the name. Central, center. And we denote this exactly the same way as we've denoted angles in the past, so angle ABC. An inscribed angle, instead of being at the center, is actually at a point on the circle. And there are many different ways to draw an inscribed angle. We could do it with two secant lines. We can do it with a tangent and a secant. We could do it with two line segments, two chords. We could do it, there's lots of different ways to go about drawing inscribed angles. But again, the way we name these, so ABC and NGI, are the same way we always have named angles. So this is angle ABC, and this would be angle NGI. And the angles here, just to sort of label them very clearly, this is angle NGI, and this is angle ABC. Our last definition is intercepted arc. So intercepted arc simply means that I've got two lines, line segments, secants, chords, rays, something that then cuts the circle into pieces. So I could have two chords. I could have a tangent with a ray. I could have two secants, all kinds of different options. And in all of these cases, there's actually more than one intercepted arc. So I'm going to use a couple of different colors here so that we can see. I have one intercepted arc, a second, third, and a fourth in this first picture. And again, we name them just as we named arcs on the previous page. In my second picture, I actually only have two. I have this arc on this side and this arc on this side. And in my third, I have four again, just the way I've drawn them. You could have four, you could have two, you could have three. It just depends upon how the line segments rays, secants, chords, tangents have been drawn. So there we have 4 intercepted arcs.